You walked into the store for milk. Just milk, nothing else. 20 minutes later, you're standing in the checkout line with a basket full of things you never planned to buy, and you have no idea how you got there. You didn't lose control. You didn't forget your list. Something else happened. Something you never even noticed was happening at all. Here's the strange part. The store wasn't guessing. Every color on that wall, every price tag, every inch of that floor plan was placed by someone who studied exactly how your brain makes decisions and then built a room around your weaknesses. You think you're choosing, but the real answer is far stranger. You're reacting to a system that was designed before you ever walked through the door. Let's start with something that feels harmless: a subscription page. In the early 2000s, a behavioral economist named Dan Ariely ran an experiment with his students at MIT. He showed them a real subscription offer from The Economist magazine. There were three options: a web-only subscription for $59, a print-only subscription for $125, and a print plus web subscription, also for $125. Read that again. The print-only option cost exactly the same as getting both print and web together. Nobody in their right mind would choose print only, and almost nobody did. But here's what Ariely actually wanted to know. What happens if you remove that pointless option entirely? He ran the experiment again, this time with only two choices: web only for $59 or both for $125. Suddenly, far fewer people chose the more expensive bundle. The useless option hadn't been useless at all. It had been doing a job. It made the real target choice look like a bargain by comparison. Marketers call this the decoy effect, and your supermarket uses it constantly. Notice the popcorn at the movie theater next time. Small for $6, medium for $6.50, large for $7. That medium size exists for one reason only. It makes the large look like the smartest decision you'll make all day. You're not choosing the popcorn you want. You're choosing the popcorn that makes the most sense next to the popcorn you don't want. Why does this work on you specifically, and not just some people? Because your brain rarely judges value in isolation. It judges value by comparison. Give it nothing to compare, and it struggles. Give it a bad option standing right next to a good one, and it relaxes, because now the decision feels obvious. The store isn't taking away your choice, it's just deciding what you'll be comparing it to. That leads to the second hack, and this one runs even deeper than pricing. It runs into the very first number you see. In 1974, psychologists Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky ran a now-famous experiment. They asked people to spin a wheel that was secretly rigged to land on either a low number or a high number. Then they asked a completely unrelated question: what percentage of African nations belong to the United Nations? People who spun a low number guessed low. People who spun a high number guessed high. A random spin, with no logical connection to the question, was quietly dragging their answers toward it. This is called anchoring, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it in a store. Walk past a clearance rack and you'll see a big number crossed out and a smaller number written next to it in red. $99 slashed, $49 circled. Your brain doesn't calculate whether $49 is actually a fair price for this item. It calculates the gap between the two numbers, and the gap feels like a win. The first number was never really a price. It was an anchor, dropped into your mind on purpose, so that everything after it would be measured against it instead of against what the item is actually worth. Supermarkets do the same thing with bulk pricing. Buy 5 for $5 sits on a shelf tag, even though the item is $1 each regardless of how many you take. Researchers who study this exact tactic have found that suggesting a quantity, even a completely unnecessary one, pushes people to buy more than they would if the sign just said $1 each. The number becomes the anchor, not the price, the number. So the first hack shapes what you compare. The second hack shapes what you expect to pay before you've even reached for your wallet. And the third hack doesn't touch your wallet at all. It touches your legs. For over 3 decades, a retail anthropologist named Paco Underhill has studied something most of us never think about: how human bodies actually move through stores. His research team placed cameras throughout supermarkets and simply watched. Not surveys, not questionnaires, just behavior recorded and measured. And one of his clearest findings was this: the most essential items, milk, eggs, bread, are almost never near the entrance. They're placed at the very back of the store or scattered across opposite corners. Why would a store hide the thing everyone came in to buy? Because the distance between the entrance and the milk is not empty space. It's the most valuable real estate in the entire building. Every aisle you walk down to reach the back wall is another aisle of products silently competing for your attention, positioned at exact eye level, under lighting engineered to make them look fresher than they actually are. Underhill's research also revealed something even stranger. Shoppers tend to slow down and browse more in the first third of a store and speed up toward the end, once the mission, the actual reason they came in, starts to take over. Which means the store front loads its most profitable, most impulsive products right where you're walking slowest and thinking least. This is why the bread and the milk are never together. It's why candy sits at checkout, right where you're standing still with nothing left to do but wait. It's why the flowers, bright, colorful, alive, greet you the second you walk in, softening your mood before you've made a single decision. None of this is random. It's the accumulated result of decades of quiet observation into exactly how your body behaves when it thinks no one is watching it. So think back to that basket, the one you filled without meaning to. It wasn't willpower that failed you. It was never really a fair fight. A decoy option shaped what felt like a good deal. An anchor number shaped what felt like a fair price. And a floor plan, drawn up long before you ever arrived, shaped the exact path your body would walk and the exact aisles your eyes would cross. You didn't lose control in that store. You were simply moving through a room built entirely around the parts of your brain that never learned to say no. You walked in for milk, and now you know exactly why you never walked out with just that.